Hello, thanks for coming to my channel. My name is Brian and welcome to my room. This channel, I talk about my love of the Beatles, my love of music, my love of movies, and my love of physical media. And if you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button, give me a like, spread the word. And again, I'm going to be saying this until he gets some more subscribers. If you have kids, if you're into action, superheroes, action figures, subscribe to my younger son Max's channel, 1939 Superfan. 1939 Superfan, I will leave a link here. And he does all this stuff himself, like I said in my last video. He edits the stuff himself. And the only thing I do is if he gets a mean or nasty comment, which hasn't been happening, thank God, I will take control over that. But other than that, you know, he's having fun. He wants to do it. He's enjoying himself doing it. And he puts a lot of thought and effort. He gets home and says, I got to do a video. I got to do a video. So spread the word to your kids. Come on. Ryan's world can't be the only one. Thank you so much. All right. So next up on our list of Capitol Beatles US albums is the final release in 64. Actually, it was this 64 or 65 did it come out? Let's go to Bruce Spicer. When did this come out? March 22nd, 1965. Okay, so this was the first release of 1965. The early Beatles. 11 of their American hit recordings, now on Capitol. Great hits. So this is essentially songs that were on the Please Please Me album. Now, Bruce Spicer talks about in here how VJ and these other labels got involved with issuing stuff in America. And VJ was the first label that that released, what did they release? Sorry. They released Love Me Do and Please Please Me. And VJ also had the first right of refusal for singles. So they refused She Loves You and From Me to You and Twist and Shout. And that's where Tolly and Swan, these smaller American labels, came into play. And of course, Capitol, being an EMI-owned company, had the first right of refusal for the Beatles. That's where Dave Dexter originally became the villain of the piece. And it's a bit more complicated, but Capitol didn't have much high hopes for the Beatles at that time anyways, until I Want to Hold Your Hand. So VJ released the Please Please Me album under a different title and a different photo as the name Introducing the Beatles. And of course, I mean, VJ had financial trouble. They were based out of my hometown of Chicago. The other big hit act they had was the Four Seasons, before the Four Seasons jumped ship and moved to Phillips. And they also had the guy who sang Raindrops. I can't think of his name right now. You know the song I'm talking about. I'll sing a bit of it for you. It must be raindrops, so many raindrops. It feels like raindrops falling from my eye. I think it's Rudy Clark. I think that's his name. I know they had him because my dad had that on 45. Scared the heck out of me with the thunderstorm opening. Then I realized that that was a stock sound effect. Anyways, I'm getting off track here, so let me get back on track. So, based on Bruce Spicer's notes, VJ started to run into financial issues. They reissued the album several times under the name Songs, Pictures, and Stories of the Fabulous Fab Four. And then, of course, they paired that album with the golden hits of the Four Seasons to come up with the Beatles versus the Four Seasons. Held that album in my hand at the Fest for Beatle fans for the first time ever when I saw it. Boy, I would have had to deplete my entire bank account and savings account and 401k in order to get it. And then they did another one, Jolly What? The Beatles and Frank Ifield on stage. Combined 4 Beatles songs with 8 by Frank Ifield. I've never seen that album, and I'm kind of curious about that one. But VJ's production, according to Bruce Spicer of the Beatles records, ended in October 15th of 1964, as well as the stuff from Tolly and other labels. Capitol, now getting the rights to those songs and realizing nobody's going to be able to get those songs, decided to release them in this collection. And again, it is the Please Please Me album, with the exception of Misery and There's a Place isn't on there. In fact, Misery and There's a Place didn't make their US debut on Capitol until the Beatles Rarities compilation in 1980, I believe. That was the first time I heard those songs, and There's a Place is one of my favorite songs. So kind of, it's not cool that they didn't put them on here. I think one of John's best early songs, There's a Place. Yeah, and it's just such an internal song. And I love the harmony between John and Paul on that. And I wish There's a Place was on here. They didn't really follow the format of the Please Please Me album. I mean, I Saw Her Standing There's not on here because that was on Meet the Beatles in America. Twist and Shout was the album closer on Please Please Me. Here they moved Twist and Shout up to the second track. But then Anna, Chains, Boys, and Ask Me Why are all in the same order as they are on the Please Please Me album. And then, of course, side 2 opens with Please Please Me. Side 2 opened on the Please Please Me album with Love Me Do. Then you go to P.S. I Love You. Then Baby It's You. And then they flip-flop A Taste of Honey and Do You Want to Know a Secret. And the album closes with Do You Want to Know a Secret. I don't think that's a strong album closer. They should have kept Twist and Shout as the album closer on here. So the sequencing to me on this is just slightly off. So that's why it's not a favorite of mine. Although the songs are good, the sequencing of the songs I don't think was good. Again, I think open the album with Love Me Do. Go right ahead. Love Me Do is great. Love Me Do is a great song. I think Please Please Me should have closed side 1 the way it did on the UK debut album. And I think Twist and Shout should have closed the album. If you don't want to include Misery and There's a Place, fine. But I think keep everything else intact. It just seems like it was kind of thrown together. And my biggest problem there is Do You Want to Know a Secret as the closing album track. Not quite a strong album closer, in my opinion. So that's my criticism of the early Beatles. I do like the cover art, which is the back cover of the Beatles for Sale album. It's kind of not period to the 62-63 time frame these songs come from. But it is good. But again, Capitol has this nice ad copy border here. Now on Capitol, the early Beatles. So why not keep the full picture? But that's Capitol. They would always do something like that. They do that on Beatles 6. And they crop the photo on that. And I'll talk about that when I talk about Beatles 6. So the early Beatles, good songs, sequenced badly in my opinion. Give me some of your thoughts on this. And talk to you soon.